So this is, we get very relaxed. Let's take off our shoes if you feel like it. Let's get our feet on the floor. Let's get very comfortable. Let's have our feet apart. We're not crossing anything. We're not crossing arms. We're not crossing hands. We're keeping our hands right on our legs, and we are spreading our fingers. So what we're going to do is we are going to have a instructional meditation and conversation about this magnificent Deva that is part of this society. And so that is all of our focus. Now he is in the center. Pretty much the center of him is like up the stairs. So visually, if you wanted to focus your energy right up the stair, you would feel him. So fingers spread, feet spread. We take a nice, lovely breath in. We'll do 3 lovely breaths in. Inhale, hold, then exhale and hold. Our focus now is simply to quiet our mind. Eyes can be open, eyes can be closed. Eyes open, palms up and palms overhead. And with your eyes closed, 3 wonderful breaths. Eyes open, palms down on the legs. Now that's the action we'll be doing, but now let's put in focus. You can use color, you can use visualization, whatever seems comfortable for you. If color is something easy for you to experience, white is lovely. Now let's breathe in white, hands on knees. Three lovely breaths. Now hands up and open and send the energy that you just breathed in, breathe out, and feel. Hands down, look forward. This is our sender, our right. It's my dominant right hand. Even if you're left-handed, right is your sender, left is your receiver. When you are in a healing, your receiver is giving you the message. This is sending your message. We have awakened him. When you did this, and I looked, all right, so now he's present. Let's start again, and this time let's use purple. Now hands up and send with your right a stream of purple. And allow your left to receive the image. Now, let's talk. When you do this, does it not feel like you're holding a ball or there's a pressure? There's a pressure against the hands. When you are sending energy to another, to a deva, to a mountain, to a fairy, you send with your left, you receive with your right, and it creates a vibration that is palpable. And that's what he uses. All right. And thank you. I can do that. We literally can reverse, but I don't want to for this demonstration. Why would we do this? Because Ed brought up a wonderful topic at the end of the last conversation about Dora talking about the Deva of New York who would fill with meditation to handle New York City. I don't live in New York, but I can't imagine living in New York. So what we are doing is we are filling this Deva so this Deva can be present for us in our quest for right path, consciousness, clarity of thought, outside of self. Meditation, my favorite, is exactly this: feet on the floor and hands on the knees. It allows me the greatest point of relaxation. But you all have complicated bodies, and some of you might not find this as comfortable as another. It doesn't matter. If you keep in mind that the purpose of meditation is beside getting out of self and out of personality, is to feed this floundering environment, as we have been speaking of, and helping the entities do their work. Anytime you feel like you have depleted yourself, use the sun as a focus for replenishing. Harry had a wonderful meditation on receiving the sun's energy and was always telling me, Robyn, don't use your energy, don't use your energy, don't use your energy. You're supposed to use what's available. Well, we all have a tendency sometimes when we are very busy, and especially if we are involved in many activities, we forget ourselves and we do use our energy. Some of you have heard me speak of energy before. We have two kinds. We have the renewable, and the renewable is when we do our meditation, and when we sleep, and when we rest. And we have the non-renewable, the one we were born with. And my renewable energy is as much as I give it, but my non-renewable energy is much lower than someone who is younger than I. It just goes with age. However, we also have had the experience, I am sure every one of you have had the experience of saying the term, oh, I burned the candle at both ends. Because you went to bed way too tired and you didn't wake up refreshed. That's when you've used the non-renewable. Never is that allowed. Now that you've heard it, you can't let yourself do it. Why shorten your life on purpose? So, now, let's visualize, let's go back into our meditative state, and now let's all, with our hands on our legs, let's take our breath. And let's allow our consciousness to touch the sun and feel the energy. Now let's bring that consciousness back to here, and let's focus on the Deva. And let's bring our hands and up and out and receive and send. Let's sit with gratitude. Eyes open. We have a responsibility, and the beauty of group meditation is that we join together in our intent. And for all of you who visit here, remember this feeling and send your loving kindness to not only those around you, but meditate and focus your energy and your thoughts on it's like a swirling motion that's through the center mostly purple. And as you become part of that, you are feeding this entity. You are recognizing the entity recognizes you. I know you feel it, I can see it, you know what I mean. I've spoken of asking for help on several occasions, and I've spoken of the entities that we each have with us who cannot interfere unless we ask for guidance, or I'm having trouble and I need a little something extra. It is the same with our invisible world. The more that we feed, the more that we receive. It is a relationship that grows with time. And even when you are not here, you can mentally be here. And you can still experience this magnificent person, entity. He's not a person, but it's because I'm a person, it's hard. There are many ways of going into meditation. And some of us use music or prayer or chanting. I love the Gayatri. I think I have many times let it repeat in my head to take me out of a difficult situation. Or simply the Om, repeated, will take me out of a situation that's difficult. Meditation helps us renew us. It helps us stay connected to that which is meaningful. We are all here for a reason. Some of us are clearer on that reason than others. But even if you're stumbling and not sure of why you're here, you still have a path. You still have a responsibility to those who are beside you, who are in front of you, who are behind you. Meditation keeps me centered. It takes me out of my personality. It takes me out of the mundane, the inconsequential things of daily life. Now, one more time. Let's go into deep meditation. One last time, let's lift our hands. This time with our left, let's receive the sun. With our right, let's send it to the Deva. Thank you. He thanks you. I'm open. Questions?
Okay, my question, how do we know when we are using our own energy instead of the renewable one? Do we have to be aware of it? I mean, because we are aware of it. And then also, is there a way to, I guess, not renew our own one, but to fortify it so we don't use it?
There isn't any way to fortify the non-renewable. I see it as a tube, and it's there. And literally, burning the candles at both ends, someone figured out that this was a tube, and no. So, self-awareness is your answer. You have gone to bed beyond exhausted and not woken up refreshed. That's when you've touched it. And you owe it to yourself to protect it for your life.
What's the difference between, you said, like the right hand should send and the left should receive? Like, if you switch it, what would be the...
You can switch it. You just have to switch your consciousness. I was taught that, but I remember my dad said to Harry, but I can do either one. And Harry said, well, sure, of course you can do either one, but, this is what we do. So that was my teaching, was the sending, the receiving. And actually, when I treat people, it pretty much I go to that. But no, you can switch your consciousness, of course. You just
wondering why.
No, because Harry taught me that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, probably not any more complicated than that.
If you should receive with your left hand, should you not put your left palm up and the right? If you receive with your left?
Well, yes.
On your knees?
Both are open. I mean, there are many meditative practices where you leave your palms open. I find this is so powerful, and it's so easy for others to feel. That's why I suggest it. Because if I can help you, even in this small, short time, if you can sense or feel or have a moment of connection, then you'll carry that on.
But when you put your hands on your knees, should you put not one?
Oh, well, I put my hands on my knees to calm myself, because I'm neither sending nor receiving. I am giving myself this opportunity to stay, to leave that personality out the door. And now it's just this multitude of bodies.
Yes.
And I'm lining them up. The ethereal, the mental, the astral. I'm kind of putting them all together.
Yeah, I got it. Yes, thank you.
You mentioned this morning that we each bring with us about 5 spirit guides, and I've heard this before, and I believe that. And you also mentioned, again, that we have to call on them for them to help us. But you also mentioned that they might be past lives, or they might be other entities. I wondered if you could talk a little more about that and how we might work with that.
When I'm one-on-one, that's a common question, who's here with me? And I describe, sometimes the person or the entity will present itself in such a manner that I know it must be a previous loved one. Remember, I've seen many loved ones, and my understanding, again, my truth, my understanding is that when we pass, we assume the look of our favorite time in this lifetime. And I've been very curious, wonder what age I'm going to be. Not going to be 20, 30, 40. I mean, I can tell you a lot of ages it won't be. I had an experience with a young woman who passed in her, doesn't matter, 50s, a very large woman. I had treated her for years, a lovely, very deeply Christian woman, but yet somehow she seemed to sense that there was something different about me, but we never discussed it. Shortly after her death, she showed up in my bedroom and she says, "Look at me." And she was maybe 18, and she was tall and thin, because she was a very tall woman, tall and thin, and that was what she wished for, or that's how she related. Often, I don't see your loved ones necessarily as you remember them, because that might not have been their favorite time. So this is my guess. I am only my own expert. I am not yours.
In the library, there's a delightful book by Jeffrey Hodgson about the Devas. It's got about 10 color plates that shows the Devas. I believe Quest also sells the book. I don't remember the name of the book, but I'm sure the librarian will be able to enlighten us. The other thing is I was reading some recent research with plants, and they've discovered things that astonish them. One of them is that they seem to have a personality. That's the best that they could describe in their research. The other is that they can distinguish lots of different things. For instance, their roots will grow towards real running water, but not recorded running water. And they've discovered a lot more. For instance, that they know when they are being eaten, and they send signals to the other plants. I mean, these are just 3. I know I don't remember everything that I read about it. There's these 3 stuck in my mind. But they are still working with the plants. And so God knows what else they are going to discover. It's going to astonish them and all of us.
I just wanted to follow up on your comment about when you are feeling low with your energy, to bring in the energy of the sun. So that is to bring it in, whether the sun is out or not. It's to bring it into yourself and your own consciousness. And the way we did it very quickly, is that the way you would recommend it? Or is that a technique that you would suggest to do for 5 or 10 minutes or longer?
5 or 10 minutes or longer. I tried to cover, in this particular workshop, I'm trying to cover as much information as I can impart at this particular time. But I use the sun always. And again, that was from her dad. Harry just said that's our source. That's what we should use. And it seemed very easy to connect, and it seemed easy to feel. And I could feel how it changed me. And meditation can be as, again, remember Dora talking about meditation as any time we are outside of self. I personally I don't time my meditations, but I think I'm probably 30 minutes of quiet time. And that's how I begin my day, and that's how I end my day. In my world, in how I work, I begin my day with quiet time, is what I call it, is my meditation. Because it allows me to center myself and to address what may be in my day. And then, especially if I am working on a challenge, we all have challenges. And if I'm working on a particular challenge, then I address the challenge in a non-critical manner. Then at night, I go through the same process. I go through that process before I go to sleep. And it is that in-between state that I go through and I analyze. So how, with that challenge, how was that? How did you do today? It helps me be not critical, because we're very good at that. And it helps me be mindful of what it is I'm trying to accomplish. And I'm just looking for enlightenment. I'm just trying to be the best version of me, so that next life, whenever body I happen to have, gets to learn new things. So hopefully sight will still be there, but one never knows.
I was one of the original guinea pigs with the Therapeutic Touch program in New York with Dora, who was my friend. And so I've done it all those years, and I'm not the least gullible person. I have to have evidence for everything, and I did get evidence for it, which I won't bore you with, but I did. And people would, in years later, they would say, well, they wanted a treatment. They'll say, I don't want to take your energy. And I'd say, don't worry, I'm not going to give you any. And unless I am exhausted,
Right.
I will give the treatment. If I'm exhausted, I won't do it. But if I'm not exhausted, just maybe a little tired, I'll do it. And I feel better because, as you well know, the energy goes through you. I wanted to say one thing about seeing people after death. Mary and I have both, on rare occasions, seen the dead. But what really surprised, and it's this younger state. I talked to a woman who knew nothing of Theosophy, and she said she had dreamed of her father. And I said, let me ask you something. Did he look younger? Yes, she said he looked younger. So there was that. But what really shocked me was that Mary had a cat for 17 years, and we've had 5 over our time, but they've all gone on to their reward, as the Irish say. And I was of the opinion that the cat wouldn't last on the other side as an individual cat for maximum a year, maybe less. That was what I believed to be true. Well, it was well over a year after the cat died. Mary was downstairs, I was waking up, and I saw the cat on my chest looking healthy and fluffy. She was emaciated when she died. And she was kneading my chest, and I said, hi, Natasha. I knew she wouldn't hear words, but I said, hi, Natasha. And then I thought to myself, I will not tell Mary because she'll get teary-eyed, even after a year. So I went downstairs, and an hour or 2 later, out of the blue, Mary said, Natasha was here this morning. I said, I know.
Was purple a color that you
did just for this entity, or is that a general
It was for him.
for him? Was it like a little bit of green in it?
Yes, there is. There is around the skirt.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Can you comment a little bit about negative entities or harmful or evil entities?
Wherever there's a positive, there's a negative, and we all know that. And we have sensed, probably all of us, sometimes things that aren't particularly helpful. Sometimes those entities are simply a thought form from someone else, and it's a mean thought form, and it is meant to irritate whoever it is that they're trying to irritate, and it is simply dissipated by telling it to go. Go. You're not welcome. Go. When I was a little girl and going through my experiences, part of what I needed to learn was how to deal with, there are kind of some ugly things too. So how to learn how to use breath. And interestingly, I don't remember as a child being afraid at all, and yet there are many times since growing up, I can wake myself up in the middle of the night. My husband will nudge me because I'm doing that breath, because something is doing something that I don't wish for it to do. So I am very careful about how I open and how I look. I would never, ever go into a area that people were users of hallucinogenic drugs. I would not be open. I wouldn't be in an area where there was a high addiction, some of the many difficult things that we are dealing with that we've already talked about. I can't, it's too disturbing, and I'm very careful. So are they there? Absolutely. But I also know that we as humans are very powerful, and all we have to say, and I am using my hands, I say no. I have also learned that if I cross my arms over my solar plexus, nothing gets in.
Hi, thanks. I just want to clarify. So, like, when two things, like when you talk about, say, something's coming at you, let's say in the night, so to speak, that are you saying that you connect to that energy of the sun as a way of countering that, and also this thing about burning the candle at both ends? So is the prescription to realize when you need to take more rest and take the time to do that connection to the sun energy and bringing that through? Okay.
Yes. In the middle of the night, I don't use the sun. I'm just trying to get away.
But you said something like, so when things are kind of coming up, and you said I connect to that, or you said something like that.
I connect to the sun if I need to renew my energy, but that's a conscious meditation. When I'm in the middle of sleep and something has awakened me, in other words, a negative energy of some sort is trying to come in, I am using my breath to blow it away and my hands to blow it away, and it's a very deep, it gets my heart going. I will say that, because it's scary after the fact. Not at the time, but after the fact. And I don't always know what it is, because I don't try to find out what it is. If it's gone, it's gone. Why do I want to go look for it? Gee, who are you? Yeah.
Thanks for sharing all this. Have you got into more communication with he or her or any entity who surrounds you into an elongated conversation with them over various subjects of your choosing or theirs.
Have I had a
Conversation, actual dialogue.
yes, if you could call thought forms dialogues. No, it's not here.
Have you heard voices and respond to
Well,
it?
it's I guess you could call them voices, but they're not voices. It's an impression. It's that telecommunication,
Okay,
and it's more rapid than you and I right now.
right.
And it's that clarity of thought between us, right at this moment. That clarity, that boom.
Is that clarity something that your own mind just recognizes?
Yes.
When you speak of the negative entities, when you address that, are their thoughts? Did you have the same clarity of thinking, or is it more confusional, or? Good
question. More clarity. Yes. No, not any more clarity. The same clarity, but it's a directed negative force, and I'm stopping the directed negative force. And it could have just been simply random. I don't believe, unless I had it a night after night, then I would say something, okay, I need to be looking at this, and I would then go into a meditative state. But it's never been that. It's been the very rare occasion. And when you're driving down the freeway and all of a sudden some random thought that's really kind of awful hits you, it's not your thought. You've picked up on something that's someone else's thought. Just kind of bless it and let it go. They are out there. Thought forms are creations. They can create. Someone who is not well mentally creates this entity that's not, and will tell me no, this is a lie. This is real, and it is their thought form that has created this thing.
You mentioned earlier, pardon me for going on, stop me if I'm going on too long. You mentioned earlier that for every positive, there's a negative, which I think is absolutely true. And have you ever heard or felt or sensed that negativity and really started to question it and really look into it and investigate it in a psychic manner, in a thought manner?
No. I don't know if I have the skill. I don't know what level I am on what I can see and what I can do. I was blessed with having guidance when I was younger, but now the guidance is behind me. And I do know that I need to be cautious. I was taught that early on. Maybe the closest to a person in my neighborhood years ago committed suicide, and I happened to be doing a walk on my road, and all of a sudden I realized there he was, and he was very excited to see me, but he was also very, very angry, and then he was following me because he was so angry. Why didn't I die? Why didn't I die? Because, of course, he did kill this, but not him. I blocked him. I had to block him. I do have people who will help me, and I think I'm quite sure I did, asked one of my friends to please help him, put him somewhere else, because I didn't have the skill. I didn't know what to do with him. So that was about as negative of an interaction as he was very, very angry.
What is your view about going to a spiritualist church or a medium?
Well, I think you need to do what you wish to do. I think this is your life. I think that if you find, I would be always cautious with anyone. I'm speaking my truth. I'm not speaking yours. You find your own truth, be wary of anyone who tries to convince you that their truth is your truth. There are no question in my mind, there are people who are very, look at the turn of the century and all the mediums and the seances and et cetera, and I'm not saying that, the magic, I think, in the very beginning had to do with people who were like me, and there are many people like me, and there are many people like me who have a good heart and are just trying. I think you listen to whatever information it is, whether it's in a church or with a person, and you try the shoes on. Do they fit me? Or are they too tight? Are they too loose? Or no, this really is just a bunch of poppycock.
Any more questions? Okay, we've got time for a few more.
Do you have any criteria for telling when something is your thought and when something is someone else's thought?
Good question. It's like experience. Like if I have an experience, it's like sensing this deva. The first time I sensed the deva, and I don't remember when, let's just say it was this particular time, I would not automatically say, oh, that's a true sense. I would come back and revisit it and revisit it and revisit it. Sometimes my experiences, my outer body experiences, I have not determined that they were not true experiences for maybe several years later. I then revisit that experience. That was the kernel of truth, but this part was imagination, or this part wasn't even your thought. So at the time, it's very hard to know. I am bombarded sometimes with information and coming faster than I can assimilate, but I try not to just out and out reject it, just say, and just wear it. These are wonderful sessions for me because it gives me an opportunity to just kind of be who I am and not worry about anything else. But for my lifetime, always I say question, question, question. Never take anything for granted. My truth is not your truth. It is only mine.
This is a related question to Richard's, because it seems to be a common phenomenon with the human mind, is that we have the ability and oftentimes the need to project something inward out on another situation or person. We will objectify fear, for example, or another kind of energy within us out onto another. I would expect that you would look at that phenomenon in the same way you just described the thought process, because this problem of projection is a serious one.
It is. It is. It's wearing someone else's shoes and adopting someone else's standards. To come back to your truth is hard. It means you're in the present. It means that you are living only for what you are looking for. And I haven't a right to project to you. You have your own rights. I have mine. But you're right.
It's difficult. And another thing I was thinking is, you said that it's difficult for you to move into situations where there might be a lot of entities hanging around. But there are those of us who are in the medical profession in one way or another who feel called to go into those situations in order to help. Do you work with any of those sorts of folks, and what sort of counsel do you offer?
I teach them some protective meditations that seem quite effective. And very quickly, if I feel that I need to be protected, I will visualize a swirl counterclockwise all the way up. Wide open at the top, but the bottom is grounded because my feet are on the ground. And it deflects. I've also suggested that you can visualize a mirror. You know, if you have a difficult person who's
In your face?
yes,
Or whatever.
yes, a mirror is wonderful. It does exactly what you think a mirror would do, and it's really wonderful. So there are, and I'm not the only one. I'm sure in the literature there must be other protective meditations that they've discussed that are very effective because, yes, I work with the public.
Going back to whether you know it's your own thought or another person's, the first thing I do if I get a thought that I think may not be mine, I track back my thought. Did I think of that person? Many years ago, long before I met Mary, I had a girlfriend who on a weekend went to Philadelphia. Well, on a Sunday afternoon, I was washing dishes, and of course, your mind is in neutral when you're doing something like that. And I suddenly thought of her. She was like, whoop, right in front of me. I looked at my watch. It was 2 in the afternoon, and I thought back. I thought, I'm not thinking of her. So when she got back to New York on Monday, I said, did you think of me on Sunday around 2? She said, no. About 2 or 3 minutes later, she said, damn, yes. I was reading a book and I thought of you and something reminded me of you. So there's that kind of thing. It's a good test. And often you can tell. There are 2 other things I want to add quickly. With emotions, we had a member in the society years ago, and every society has one of these, a man who would give God a daily tick, you know. He was so difficult, and yet he was a dedicated member. Anyway, the point is, one Wednesday at a meeting, he said something about a book in the Bible. I know a bit about the Bible, but I'm certainly not a scholar. And I didn't think that was a book in the Bible. And I argued with him, and I said, no, it must be the Apocrypha. No, it's in the canonical scriptures. Well, I forgot all about it. The next Wednesday, I was coming to the society. I was several blocks away. Well, I was hit with a bolt of anger that I thought, where did that come from? Because I wasn't angry. I walked into the society, and this man was in a tirade about Ed Abdul, who had argued with him and other. I said, my God, Metz, calm down. You're going to have a heart attack. I said, let's get a Bible and find out. Well, he was right. There was a 1-page book, alleged book, you know. And I said, you're right, Metz. That's very good. Now, the last thing is something that Dora said, and I think it was very helpful for all of us to remember this and think about it. She said in a city like New York, but it can happen anywhere, it can happen in a small town. If there's a disturbance in the town, and in New York you get maybe somebody like Fidel, he's dead now, but Fidel Castro coming to the UN. Well, you know, the Cubans in New York were outraged, you see. All that anger in the city will hit you. Now, what do you do if you think you'll remember all the things you are angry about, and you'll get angrier. See? So she said, try to understand that anger is coming from the outside, and then you make an effort to be quiet and to neutralize it with a feeling of peace, you see? So we can be hit with things that come from the outside, and I don't know if there's any perfect way of finding out, but trace your own thought. And if it's not your own thought, it's very likely from the outside.
Yeah, it's very good.